Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2022 OSU Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Week. We are honored and excited to continue this week-long celebration to reflect upon and honor the legacy of Dr. King across our community. On behalf of the Division of Institutional Diversity and the Division of Student Affairs, we want to welcome and thank you for being here today to participate in this program and the Unity March between the OSU and the Stillwater communities. The continued cultivation and strengthening of this symbiotic partnership is integral to all of us achieving Dr. King's dream. As we gather here today, I encourage and challenge each of us to recognize that the meaning of Dr. King's dream is what matters and not just the march. Dr. King's legacy continues to serve as a call to action for all of us every day to engage in the work of justice, equality, and love of humanity. Hopefully, all of us will listen to each other, commit to learn from one another, and aspire to be better today than we were yesterday. It is now my pleasure and privilege to introduce and welcome to the microphone an individual who needs no introduction. Please join me in welcoming OSU President Dr. Casey Schrum.
Thank you, Dr. Kirksey, and good afternoon. My family and I are honored to be here with you as we celebrate and honor the life and legacy of Martin Luther King. This march is just one example of many of how we as a campus want to celebrate, respect, and embrace diversity. So thank you for joining me and all of us here this afternoon on your day off. I believe it's important for us to take a moment to think about the impact that Martin Luther King's legacy has had on each and every one of our lives. As the first female president of a research university in the state of Oklahoma, I'm mindful of the many women and men who came before me that made it possible for me to have this opportunity. Some of them I had the pleasure of meeting, and others I will only know through history. As the mother of a diverse family, I'm equally mindful of the impact of Martin Luther King on my family, and I have a deep gratitude for his tenacity and persistence in his fight against racial inequality. As I read his speech, "I Have a Dream," I was drawn to this particular part of the text. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That is my desire for my family and for the Cowboy family, that everyone at Oklahoma State University not only feels welcomed, but valued. The Cowboy Code that we endeavor to live by at Oklahoma State University calls us to have a passion to do what is right and to stand up for what matters. Martin Luther King, in his fight against racial inequality, chose love and light. In his words, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Let us as a Cowboy family be the light not only on our campus here, but in our families, in our communities, and in the world. And let us always choose love. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schrum. Thank you, Dr. Kirksey, and to the OSU family and staff who put this together and invited me to be a part of it today. I'm honored to be here as part of this celebration. Of course, we're here to honor the legacy of Martin Luther King and his advocacy for the fundamental rights and the dignity of all people. His life work taught us not only to recognize the reality of racial injustice and to be honest with ourselves about the inequities around us, but more so to do something about it, to improve the world we live in for all people. That work continues today. We're here in recognition that the dream Dr. King envisioned more than a half century ago is still in our future, and we have a role in making it to become a reality. This event and the collaboration among the City of Stillwater, our Stillwater Community United group, and Oklahoma State University is a wonderful example of our shared commitment to the connection, understanding, and progress. As we march from here, we'll head west past the library, we'll turn left on Monroe, and then left again on University, and we'll end up at the McKnight Center to hear our student keynote address. During the march, I encourage you to meet someone new. Make a connection with someone outside your normal group of friends. The strength and the diversity of our relationships as a community here in Stillwater are the foundation of our shared vision for a greater and more unified tomorrow. May we move forward from here as we march with the conviction of Dr. King to strengthen the connections we have, to reach out to our neighbors, and to remain dedicated to healing, opportunity, and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. McClinton. I do want to take just a second to publicly thank Dr. McClinton and his team for really putting together really an outstanding program today, as well as the Stillwater Community United, as we bring the Stillwater community, as Mayor Joyce said, together for this special day of remembrance, reflection, celebration, and action. And one of the dreams, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we incorporated for Oklahoma State University is that it's extraordinarily important for us to have our students actively engaged in this process. As we know about activism and change, many times it started on college campuses with college students, much like many of the students that we have here today. And so we wanted to make sure that we have opportunities for students to voice, whether it's through art, whether it's through essay, and then we're very honored to have a student keynote speaker today. Cheetah came as a freshman, and like most freshmen, kind of shy, maybe a little unsure, but he got involved, and he got active in his residence halls and in the community, to the point where he became president of the Residence Hall Association, and now as a graduate student is continuing to give back. So help me welcome Cheetah Canoe.
Thank you, Dr. Hollenbeck, for that. It's an honor to be here to speak to you all today. My name is Cheetah Hakano, and I am an MBA student here at OSU. I also have the privilege of serving as an assistant residential community educator in the Department of Housing and Residential Life. This is my 5th year here, and in that time, I've immersed myself into the OSU and Stillwater community through different community service events such as Into the Streets and serving at our Daily Bread. And I've also had the opportunity to serve as one of the few African-American presidents of the Residence Halls Association. Last year, I had the opportunity to attend this march, and I listened to Caleb give a terrific speech. And as I left that speech, I left feeling 2 different ways. First, I left feeling motivated to work across racial differences on campus and to bridge that gap in my community. I also left feeling inspired to speak if given the opportunity. And God willing, I've been able to accomplish the last goal, and I continue to forge on with the former. I don't believe I would be amiss if I said that it is so hard to communicate anything about race these days. It's hard to have any conversations, discussions, whether online or in person, about this. And this is not because that there is not a means for this. I mean, there's social media and various platforms, and it's also not because there's not enough people, because there are definitely a lot of people who want to have these conversations. But it's because we as a society currently lack the desire to go beyond the basic steps. Every MLK Day and Black History Month, corporations, organizations, celebrities, and even ourselves We go online, we post like a bunch of MLK quotes, as well as like post pictures and videos, and for a lot of people, that's where it stops. For corporations that, quote unquote, go above and beyond, they have diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and for them, that's where it stops. We forget that the civil rights movement lasted as long as it did, even with the mercurial leaders that they had at the time. It's because there is no quick solution to racism, classism, or any form of injustice meted out to any minority. I'm not against posting these quotes or these pictures or anything like that. What I am against is letting that be the only step that you take as we forge on to look for a society that we are more proud of. As Martin Luther King said, we have to keep moving forward. We may have passed some of the larger negative experiences that have been meted out against African Americans and other minorities in this country, but I believe we are still a ways away from the goal. We have to keep taking action in our communities because no matter how far we've come, there is still a voice not heard, a person not acknowledged, and an opportunity not extended to everyone in the room. And because of this, we have to speak up and to speak out. Because Dr. King said, we stop living when we become silent about the things that matter. I was born in Oklahoma City, and after about 8.5 years in OKC, because of my parents' occupation, I moved back to Nigeria. And after 8 years there, I moved back to the US for college and for the rest of my life, and I learned a lot. I learned what it was like to live in the largest black nation in the world and followed that up by attending a predominantly white institution in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Some of the things that I learned were not voluntary, but they were positive experiences overall. And one of the biggest things that I learned was that regardless of what we do, because we are in a community of people from different walks of life, race, ages, and classes, there are certain things that we will not understand about the person next to us. No matter what, there are certain experiences that they may share that we will not be able to relate to. And that is totally fine. Because no matter where you're from, no matter what you do, there is a language that we can all speak, and I believe we can all speak fluently, and that is love. And if we are to speak that language the way Dr. King wants us to, we are to step out of our comfort zones and embrace those differences. He never failed to mention or allude to love, because that love in our Stillwater community and OSU community is what will drive out darkness. In a society that seems to sow seeds of negativity and hate anywhere we go, we should be able to sow seeds of love in the lives of those around us. I know everyone has been in a situation where they have been right. You're arguing with someone, you're discussing with someone, and you know you're right. You know that person is wrong. You know you're on the right side of history. And as a human, what you may want to do is to bring out all the historical context and the facts that you can to show how right you are and how wrong they are. But I believe that if we are to be the standard bearers of the love that Dr. King exemplified, we should meet them with grace. Because I don't know anybody who has ever changed an opinion or changed how they feel or grown after feeling condemned, judged, or ridiculed. We should be able to meet them with understanding, patience, and proper communication. Now, if you believe that is something that is very hard to do, imagine how tough it was 60 to 70 years ago. Imagine how tough it was to choose love as the best response to the hate that they received. Imagine how hard it was to see your brothers and sisters go down to a system that was created to do just that and respond with love because hate was too great a burden to bear. Now, if they could do that at that time, what excuse do we have? I was reading Dr. King's Our God's Marching On speech, and there's a particular quote that stuck with me. I'm going to read that to you. I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, frustrating the hour, it'll not be long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Now, if you needed any other additional motivation to go out and to live a life of love the way Dr. King exemplified, I believe those words I read should do just that. I'll conclude by saying this. You and I may not be able to determine the length of the lives of those around us, but what we can do is pitch in to determine the quality of it. Thank you.
All right, Cheetah, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. That concludes our festivities for today. I want to remind everybody that on Thursday, we do have an evening with Soledad O'Brien. They're still, it'll be right here in the McKnight Center. We still have some tickets available, so if you're interested in that, she'll be talking about the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and its relevancy still today. Thank you all very much for coming out.